In school, we were taught math in order to solve problems and handle our finances, language arts in order to communicate with each other, and history taught us about the mistakes others have made so we won't repeat them. But there's something that no one prepared us for, and that's grief. Grief is a horrid, horrid emotion that we don't discuss freely. That's because we're supposed to carry it on our own. No one else can carry it for us, and no one else can tell us how to grieve. There is no right way, there is no wrong way, only our way. This episode is dedicated to Filberto and Mary. I'm your host, El Búho Mudo, and you're listening to Haunted by.
It's a pain that that you don't think you'll ever feel, that you can't comprehend it. You know? It's weird. It's how do I explain it? If I'm busy, if I'm working, if I'm doing the podcast stuff, if I'm editing, if I'm being a dad, being a husband, it goes away. It's not there. It feels like it's not there. But as soon as the lights turn off, as soon as everybody goes to bed, oh man, it's when it comes on. It's when you start thinking, you start remembering, you start thinking about the future of being different. And yeah, dude, it's been a rough 8 days. It's been 8 days. Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's been fucking rough. Yeah. And to be honest with you, 2025 has been I guess if we're talking about haunting, it's been a year that haunts for sure. I've always been around death. You know what I mean? Always. Since I was a kid. I worked at Concordia since I was 10 years old. I dug my first grave on my own when I was 13, My dad worked at my uncle worked at Purchase Funeral Home for 20 years, and now he works at Martin Funeral Home. And when he was at Purchase, they hired me as a part-time, pretty much as a gopher, but they hired me to go help them pick up bodies. And so I've seen, dead bodies. I've seen them in the ground. We do disinterments where we take them out of the ground, bone by bone, piece by piece. I've seen bones. I've seen flesh that's like been buried for like a year, and that's still rotting away. And then you take that out, and some of it, if it's been buried for about a year, it still kind of smells. You still kind of like get the scent. You still feel the soul in a way, right? If it's been like over 5 years, then it's pretty much bone, right? But I've been around death my whole life, but I've never really been around death more in a intimate way than 2025. I lost my mom January 20th of 2025, my biological mom. And it's a lot of stuff that I keep to myself, dude. When I was young, I lived with my mom till I was about maybe 6 years old. And then my dad took custody of me around that time. And my stepmom, who I would never That's going to be the last time that I call her my stepmom this whole pod.
Yeah.
But she raised me as her own, and I call her mom, and she was there for me every single part of the way. Was into bad shit. I was into, being around the hood and being around nonsense, and we were in and out every trailer park and projects. And then my dad took over and kind of installed discipline in me, and that kind of went away, right? But I would visit my mom, my biological mom, on the weekends. I was one of those weekend custody kids, right? Everybody, I mean, somebody that's like that, or you were like that, right? And so I still had my mom, my biological mom, in my life, and she still loved me. It was just that she couldn't afford to help raise me, and not only that, but she had a little bit of habits that maybe it deterred her from being able to raise me, right? And then growing up, life kind of goes fast, right? We're here, and then you blink your eyes, and then like you're done with high school, right? And now like you and I are a little bit older. You're older than me, but you kind of look back and you could blink and you could remember, oh shit, in high school I did this, in high school I did that, and that's where you kind of create your memories and stuff, and but then you blink again and it's like, okay, you're 30 years old. You blink again and now you're 40, right? That's kind of how time works. Like we don't really have a good calculation of time, and I think that's kind of how death works. You don't have a calculation of when your time is. And I've known that because better than anybody, because I've been in the death industry since I was a kid. And I've done headstones. I kind of specialized in growing up. When I grew up, I learned how to draw, and I learned how to, be creative. And so I was able to offer people in town any type of headstone, anything you want drawn on a headstone. You want a pecan tree that's been alive for 100 years. I'll look that up and I'll draw it. Right. And so I got really good at that. And so I was able to carve anything on a headstone. So that's kind of what I did growing up. Since I was like 16, started carving headstones by hand. And I've seen headstones for 10-day-old babies. I've seen headstones for 95-year-old men, right? And you kind of always want to be the 95-year-old man, right? But it's not up to you, right? In a sense, you can eat healthy, drink nothing but water, stay hydrated, go on exercise runs, not drink, use the crosswalk, and you could still die from cancer. That's the joke of death. When people call it like Death in a Hoodie, we're a comedy podcast, and everybody's like, why did you guys choose comedy? And really, we didn't choose Death in a Hoodie because we were like, oh, we're in the death industry. It was just kind of, we had an infatuation with death because it's always been around us. But it was kind of like our spinoff of what we do for a living. And it's like, well, why did we choose comedy? Well, because it's a joke. God has a sense of humor, and sometimes it's a dark sense of humor, like me and you. Yeah. I've seen you crack some dark jokes, right? Yeah. You and I have bonded over some things you shared on your Instagram stories, right? Yeah. As have I, and that's just who we are. But if you really know death, like I've learned death, it's in a way it's humorous. It's so dark, it's so weird, it's so uncalculable that it's humorous, right? So when my mom got sick, she got cancer when I was a freshman in high school, maybe 8th grade, around there. She got cancer. I think it was ovarian cancer. I can't remember. And she went to the whole chemo thing. She fought it off, and she beat cancer. And that was a weird part of my life. And after that, I kind of thought she can beat anything. You know, my biological mom was kind of like, she died. I mean, her parents died when she was 18 and then 21. So she was one of the older ones. She helped raise the younger ones, you know. And so I always just thought like she'll always be there, you know. And then after I finished high school, she got sick. She got her kidney started failing, right? And they said that some of it had to do with the fact that she was kind of like on the borderline of being diabetic and not taking care of that. But a lot of it had to do with like her getting chemo and it messing with her kidneys so bad where she couldn't do it, right? She couldn't keep going. She couldn't keep cleaning her blood, right? So it hurt her. Hurt all of us, right? Because it was like a punch to the gut. Like, you know what? She beat cancer. Like, why would this happen to her, right? But it makes sense, right? The way the doctors explained it. So she would go to dialysis once a week, and then a couple years later, it turned into twice a week, and then in the last 2-3 years, it's turned into every other day. She had to go to dialysis, and so we always kind of knew. Your time is limited now. Your time's always limited. From when you pop out at the hospital 1 day old, your time's limited. Your time could be tomorrow, right? And some doctors can explain why your time could be tomorrow, and sometimes they can't. And so death knows. You know, when it's time to go, you're not gonna know. And so we kind of kept it in our head. She's going to go one day. And it got closer and closer. And the signs were there. I have to get this procedure, mijo, because this isn't working right. They found something going on with my back, so I get this procedure because this isn't working right. And you know what? I got out of this procedure. I'm doing good. I'm in a wheelchair. But you know what they said? If I work hard enough, I can get out of the wheelchair in a year and blah, blah, blah. And she would, dude. She would. Because for her grandchildren, for her children, she was just fighting. And I took it for granted. And me and my biological mother didn't see eye to eye. We didn't. I loved her. And she loved me. And we never, and I guess that could bring me some type of closure, is that we never questioned that. But we didn't see eye to eye, and maybe I didn't tell her I loved her enough, and maybe I didn't sit back and explain to her that she did enough. I understood her situation, and I understood she held a bad set of cards from the beginning, from when her parents died when she was a kid, and I knew that. Because I was an adult to understand where she came from in her life and why she was the way she was. And she was always tight on money. And so the last couple years, I would avoid seeing her. Because every time I'd come around, she'd ask me for a couple bucks. Right? And that would bother me. And I don't know why it would. Because if I had it, I would give it to her. If I didn't have it, I told her I didn't have it. It wasn't that I couldn't tell her no. It was just like, I felt like that was the only reason she wanted me around. Right? And then randomly, not really randomly, but she passed away. Like, she was just gone. And it was tough. It was tough to deal with. And so that's what's been haunting me. Is that the fact that I know so much about death. Hell, I even named my own podcast, Death in a Hoodie. The fact that I think I know so much about death and I couldn't see it coming. And now it's just a cloud over me. And and it will never go away. I don't know if you've ever lost anybody close to you, but losing your biological mom, it hurt, right? And I could deal with it, and I could kind of like understand that she's no longer suffering, but it hurt me. It did, right? And it always kind of felt like, man, I should have visited more. Who gave a fuck about the $20 that she was going to ask for me at the end of the visit? Who gives a shit? Who gives a fuck about that? Because I could make that up, right? And if I didn't have it, then I would tell her I didn't have it, and she would still have a good time with me. She would still tell me I love you. She'd still give me a kiss, and I would still be fine knowing that I visited her and brought a smile to her face. And for the last couple of years, I just avoided her because I just thought she's going to be there. Ya cuando, like, when my kids get older, they'll be able to know their grandma Mary. And they're not. And I'm going to take them to a gravesite, and they're going to see it, and they're going to be like, well, who was that? Well, she got to hold you 3 times. And what the fuck else am I going to say? I don't know. I don't have an explanation for them. I don't even have an explanation for myself. And it's a dark joke that I don't think is funny, right? But I'm sure in a dark, twisted way, it's supposed to be funny. In a poetic way, it's supposed to be funny. And so I've been dealing with that and slowly dealing with that, and that's fine. And I got to come to terms with it, right? And I was slowly getting better. I mean, January was 5 months ago or 6 months ago now, right? We're recording this in July. So it was 6 months ago now, January 20th, 6 a.m. And 6 months is enough to kind of like get under your feet and understand that she's gone and she's not coming back. And at least, you know, I'm 32, but at least the 30 years that I spent, you know, really visiting her and telling her I loved her, it's enough for her to understand that I loved her and she loved me, and I understood, right? And then my best friend dies. And I just feel like it's unfair, right? Have you ever lost somebody that close?
Yeah, I lost my mom.
You lost your mom
in 2021.
Yeah. And so you can kind of get there, right? You can kind of get that you feel like it's unfair, like the universe is against you. And then you slowly learn to live with it. You don't get over it, but you slowly learn to live with it. And your smile comes back because you have to. And that's what I feel like. The smile had to come back. But then my best friend, you know, we were talking about siblings at the beginning of this podcast, and I have Sonny and I have Eric, and I didn't get to choose them, right? Because they're your siblings. I got to choose my best fucking friend. I have 2 best friends in this world, and I got to choose, and we were the fucking 3 musketeers, as corny as it sounds. We inseparable. We were just a group of 3, and they're cousins. And so it was just the way, because we all lived so close to together, it just worked out. And we all, you know, bonded over being into the Jackass, the CKY, the, you know, heavy metal, Slipknot, System of a Down, Korn, all that shit, you know, growing up. And we all bonded because we all enjoyed all of that, the shooting paintball, the EDM. It all just made sense for us to be best friends. And so I got to choose them. And sometimes you say like your best friends, but I think I was blessed, dude, because I got some best friends that they would go to war for me and I would go to war for them. And they know that, dude. Like, it's crazy. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. If I picked up the phone right now and called my one living best friend now, and I said, I need $150 today, right now, can I go pick it up? He says, what time are you going to be here? That's the type of friends I have, dude. So that one is an even sicker joke to me. And because he was supposed to be here till we're old. Why isn't he here? You know what I mean? And here I am again thinking that I'm the fucking expert of death, and I don't know. I didn't predict it. I didn't see it coming. You know what I did see coming? He was the most reckless one out of all of us. His MySpace, oh my God, I'm going to fucking date myself. His MySpace name was Brain Damage. Because he would just fucking, you tell him, hey, let's go do this. He'd jump off the roof. Let's go do it. Fuck it. Fuck it. That should have been tattooed on him. Fuck it. Because that's the type of man he was. You know what I mean? He was just like, whatever. Let's just do it. You know what I mean? Experiment with whatever and do whatever and just, you know. On top of that, he was a Army veteran and went to Afghanistan and came back a little bit messed up from that. And so he kind of always didn't have like his screws on all the way tight. But I accepted that. I accepted that was my best friend and I would protect it. We would even make jokes about him and just fucking make fun of like, oh shit, you're going on your fucking Vietnam trips and shit. Because we would fuck with him, right? Because that's what you do with your best friends. So I always kind of knew that he was going to go before me and my other best friend, me and Matthew. I always knew Filbert's going to be the first one to go. But I didn't expect it to be last Saturday. I didn't. And so if you're asking what's haunting me, it's that, dude. It's the death of my best friend, the death of my mother. I only got to dream. They say like death, you know, dead spirits, the spirits come to you in your dreams. A lot of people say that. My dad really believes that. And I'm kind of always a skeptic. My sister is very into that. Sunny is very into that. Maybe you could have her on and she could tell you that. But I've always been a skeptic as to, yeah, sure. And the first time my mom came to me in my dream when she passed away, I was like, fuck. Proven wrong again. And I didn't want to acknowledge the fact that she was dead because I felt like if I would have said it, she would have disappeared and I would have woken up. And so I didn't say it. And so she just kept asking me if my sister was doing okay. And I said, she's doing all right. And I was lying to her. And she said, don't lie to me in the dream. And I said, well, she's having a little bit of a hard time, but she always does. Right? And so I'm kind of like dancing around the truth because I don't want her to fucking disappear. It's the last time I'm going to see my mom in the dream. And she's just worried about her because she was always worried about her. And so she's thinking that she left too early, and in my head, in what I felt deep to my bones, that her soul is not resting because my sister probably isn't having the hardest time going on without her. And maybe, and I kept trying to like repeat myself, like, are you okay? Is everything okay on your side? And all she responded with was, I can rest whenever I feel like it. Did it make me feel okay? Maybe a little bit, because she can kind of at least acknowledge that she can rest eventually. But not enough, okay, because she wasn't resting already. We think that when you die, you go to this eternal rest, and I kind of hope for that. I was raised Catholic, and maybe you were too, but that's what they preach at every funeral. They've gone to the eternal rest in the kingdom. Verbatim, that's what the priest says. And I just kind of hope that that's true, because it doesn't feel that way sometimes. My best friend, I've been seeing little signs here and there. It's brand new. This wound is brand new. I mean, I barely talked about it on our podcast recently, just like last episode. And I didn't expect to talk about this today, but I kind of figured, like, what better time than right now? What's haunting me? This is haunting me. I can come on and tell you ghost stories, but this is what's really haunting me right now, and this is the only thing that really is going on through my brain, and it's fucking with me.
That's all here, man.
And so he's just so recent that it just, I think about him everywhere I go. Everywhere I go, because he was my best friend. I talk to him. You see how close I am with Eric and Sonny, because you see it online every week, at least every week for 2 hours. We're doing a podcast. We're setting up and then we're shooting and leaving. So it's at least 2 hours every day. I work with Sonny, so I spend a lot of time with him. I would say I still talk to my best friend more. Whether it's sending fucking memes, sending TikToks, sending Instagram reels, whatever the fuck. Talking about if we're going to get together for a barbecue on the weekend. And so everything I do, it makes me miss him. I turn on the radio and it's a song that we've had a memory together with. The last 4 or 5 days, I haven't even been able to turn on the fucking radio, dude, without breaking down, because if I'm in the truck by myself, it's torture, dude. It's torture. It's a sick joke. And and it eats away at you. And the only way I can cope is like kind of like having a sense of humor about it. And that's going to be the theme of what I'm talking about, is that it's a joke. Because the only way out of this is just enjoying what you have. Enjoying of what's left. Because if he had an accident on a Saturday morning, what makes you think that I can't have an accident on the way home today? What makes you think that you're going to wake up tomorrow, cross the street to work, and not get hit by a car? That's just what happens. And if you take care of yourself, like everybody says, hey, I take great care of myself. So fucking what? When it's your time, it's your time. I can't think of the amount of times that somebody's come in to buy a headstone and said, well, mijo, he was a triathlete and he took really good care of his body and he did this and he did that. And he was at a nightclub and they shot him. That's in a way, it's ironic to the point where it's humorous.
It's funny.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Why? We don't know. And I guess, why are we wasting our time trying to figure out why? Right? I mean, at the end of the day, are we ever going to find these answers until it's too late?
Nope.
By the time it's too late, you'll know the answer, but you'll be dead already. And so that's a thing that's a symbolic thing that haunts me, is that why I'm trying to figure out death. And it's like that. I watch South Park a lot. And when like they get hooked on heroin in that video game, and he's chasing the magic dragon, and they're fucking telling him, you're never going to catch the magic dragon. You're going to go to 100 levels and you're never going to fucking catch him. And it's like, no, I got so close. And then like, I can get, and you're never going to figure out death. As close as you are, if you see it every day like me, you're never going to figure it out. And, and so, yeah, dude, I think that's just what's been haunting me lately.
That's hauntingly beautiful, man. Like, you move me. You move me with your words. You move me with what I can see in your eyes, what you're feeling.
Yeah.
You touched on a lot of things that are very important. First and foremost, that the first thing I learned from my best friend, who lost his father about 2 years before I lost my mother, is that he told me, you're never going to get over it, but you learn to live with it.
Yeah.
And you said that. You touched on that, man. You also touched on something that is very important. We don't talk about grief.
No.
Grief is a very, very difficult, horrid, the worst emotion I have ever felt.
Yeah.
It's worse than heartbreak. It's worse than depression. It's worse than misery. It's fucking horrid.
Yeah.
Awful. And nobody talks about it. We don't talk about grief.
And why? I kind of wish.
Well, here's the thing. And it brings me to the third thing. Because
we find ways to cope with it.
Right.
We find ways, and it's up to us. And both you and I are similar in the fact that we find it humorous.
Yeah.
Not humorous, but funny. My mother was one of the funniest people you'll ever meet.
Right.
And when she died, only thing I could do was just laugh at everything she would do in the past. And that's what helped me grieve.
Yeah. I caught myself. I have this group chat. Oh, here's a joke. Okay, I'm gonna break a little bit of the tension here, but both of my best friends are Native American. They're Tiwas, right? And I'm not. I'm just a beaner, right? And we have a group chat on, like, a messenger group chat, and it's called the Washington Redskins, right? Because I always thought it was so fucking funny. Growing up, I've gotten to know, like, their culture and what they feel and how they act, and really just how we joke about being a beaner, right? That's how they joke about being a native.
Okay.
It's funny to them.
What do they call themselves? Res dogs?
The res dogs are. That more so is just like, we're in, like, they'll say Indians, and I'm like, aren't you not supposed to say that? And they're like, well, dude, who gives a fuck, right? And so one time when a couple years back, when they changed the Washington football team and now the Commanders, they were the Washington Redskins. And when they were talking about changing the name, it was barely new. It was like, 2017, 2018, around there. I asked him, I said, hey, does that bother you? Like, that they're saying the Washington, that they're red skin? I said, and that's why they're trying to, does that bug you? And they're like, why would it bug us? And I'm like, well, I don't know, dude. Like, they're saying that it's so fucked up. It's, like, really fucked up. Is it? Because, like, I mean, you guys don't have red skin. And I said, you guys are brown just like me. And they were like, dude, honestly, like, a lot of Native Americans are Washington Redskins fans because they identify with that shit. And so I'm like, oh, fuck. Right? So as a funny joke, we named our group chat the Washington Redskins. And it was because I was like, well, you know what? Like, that's just, like, how dark we are. And we were just, And so the other day, my wife caught me going through the group chat and saving every single photo he sent me, saving every single video he sent me. And she could hear his voice on my phone, right? I had it kind of low, but she could hear it. And she went to high school and middle school with him too, so she knew him, right? And so she's like, why are you doing that to yourself? You're torturing yourself right now. And I said, this is all I have left. And so she shut up, right? Like, right away, she just let me keep doing it. And it's kind of like all I have to cherish. Like, at least now in the modern age where we send each other videos and voicemails that I have saved from him, it's good because at least I knew, like, I have this. He did a whole podcast with us when we first had when we were first having guests on. I couldn't find anybody guests, right? You guys know what it's like. The Bro Monroe Show, you fucking ask. When you guys first started off, you would try to ask a big comedian or big somebody, and then they would fucking leave you on red because they're like, who the fuck are these guys? And that's kind of how Death in a Hoodie started, right? So I was like, well, I'll just ask my best friend to be on. Fuck it. So I was like, yo, Filberto, you want to be on? He's like, hell yeah, dog, I'll be here right now. You want some beer? And I'm like, bring some beer. And so I have that whole hour, where we're just shooting the shit, talking about fucking trending topics and bullshit memories of us being super drunk and doing the stupidest shit ever. Him fucking passing out and me fucking peeing out the window while he's driving the car. You know what I mean? Those are the memories that I have with him. But depending on the time, depending on the context, they're either cherished memories or they're haunted, or they're depressing, right? Because I'll never get to make new ones with them, and that fucks with me, dude. I have twin daughters, Sophia and Scarlett. And if you're listening to this, you should turn it off because Dad's being vulnerable right now. But I named Matthew the godfather of Sophia, and I named Filbert the godfather of Scarlett. And I kept pushing off the baptism, pushing it off and pushing it off. And Filbert didn't get to baptize Scarlett. And that's another thing that's going to haunt me. And so I decided, I kept thinking, because that kept popping into my mind, right? Because when you become a dad, your kids is what you think about 96% of the time. If they're doing okay, if everything's okay, and if, especially like when they're, grandma's watching them or whatever and you're not with them. And I kept thinking, man, what am I going to do? What am I going to do about her not getting a godfather and Sophia getting a godfather? And I kept looking at her and I just felt bad. And I grabbed her one time and while my wife was in the shower, I hugged her and I told her, I'm sorry that I didn't let you get a godfather. And then I'd make it up to her. So what I decided at the end of it all is that at the baptism, Matthew is going to baptize both kids because he deserves it. I'm the godfather of his son. And so he's going to baptize both girls, and I'm going to leave an empty chair to honor him. That's all I can do now is just honor him, memorialize him. Tell the thousands of memories that we have together. I can tell her to her and have her understand what he was. And he left behind 2 beautiful children and a nice and just a great wife that stuck beside him. Filbert wasn't perfect. Shit, I'm not perfect. Nobody is. But Filbert had his faults. And people say it's not good to speak badly on the dead, but he's my best fucking friend, so I can say whatever the fuck I want about him, right? At times he could be a pretty crazy dude, right? But she stuck beside him, and she pushed through, and they had a home, and they have 2 beautiful kids a son and a daughter that are just great kids. And they looked up to their dad. And tomorrow is the rosary. And I haven't seen them. And I haven't seen his wife. And shit, I only saw my best friend Matthew once since it's happened. And I've been avoiding talking to him. Because what is there else to talk about? I'm going to ask him about his kids, but he's going to know that I'm avoiding the topic at hand, the elephant in the fucking room. He's gone. And tomorrow I have to face it, the rosary. And I'm going to be a pallbearer, and I'm going to have to stand there and act like as if I'm ready to let him go. And I'm not ready to let him go. I'll never be ready to let him go. And I'm not ready right now, and I won't be ready in 5 years. I won't be ready in 30 fucking years. I won't. And there's nothing that anybody can tell me that'll make me feel better. And I said it on our podcast that everybody always says, let me know if you need anything. That's like a question. That's a comment that everybody makes when you're grieving is let me know if you need anything. You know what I need? I need my best fucking friend. I need him. I need him here right now. And if you can't give me that, then don't give me shit. And I don't blame people for doing that. But it's just the way you feel. Grief has different forms. It comes in anger, it comes in sadness, it comes in depression, it comes in cherishing memories. But right now I'm like in the angry phase. I'm fed up phase. And maybe tomorrow I'll be in the fucking depressed phase because I'm gonna see him lifeless. And it's going to be the last time I see him. And it's just fucked up, dude.
My friend, you're in the death business. You know, you've seen death your whole life, and you carve headstones. Why do we have funerals?
Funerals are for the living. Funerals are to make the people on earth feel a little bit better about themselves. I'm going to read you a scripture that I have tattooed right here on my shoulder.
Psalm 23.
Psalm 23. Salmo 23. I can sing it. I can chant it to you in Spanish and English. El Señor es mi pastor, nada me faltará. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And they read that. I don't know if you know this, but they read that at Christian funerals. They read that at Catholic funerals. They read it at Jewish funerals. It's from the Old Testament. And it's King David writing a psalm. And everybody thinks that that psalm is about the dead. And it's not. It's about learning how to live without a loved one. And I got this in the most ironic, jokey way that it's barely occurring to me now. I got this tattoo before both of them died. Because this psalm was read at every single funeral. And I'm not the most religious guy. I call myself a Catholic, but I'm a Catholic as much as I'm a vegetarian when I eat lettuce with my hamburger, right? But but that psalm has been around my life because it really reads word for word. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul for his name's sake. And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. For God is with me. His rod and his staff, they comfort me. And I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. Right? And everybody reads those and they think, what's talking about somebody reaching heaven? No. It's talking about you picking up the pieces after that person's gone. You're supposed to follow God and just understand that he does everything for a reason, even though you're upset about it or you're just not you don't agree with his plan, right? Which is why he says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He's supposed to guide you wherever you go, to the still waters, to the green pastures, right? That's what he's trying to tell you in that. It's a poem. And he restoreth my soul. So right now, I kind of feel like my soul is torn in a million pieces. And the only one that can put it together is them being back. But that's not in the cards. And so God is supposed to restore my soul, which in a sense is kind of what you said earlier. You don't learn to get over it, but you learn to live with it. So that's what's coming from death. That's what it's trying to remind you. That your soul will be eventually, it will be restored. But when you fix a broken glass, you still see the cracks. Right? God, that was a fucking bar, dog. Hold on. All right. But yeah, that's just what this whole, if you want to look that up, I read that poem a couple times already and I hear it all the time, every funeral. Yeah. That's why I have it memorized. I'm not a big Christian guy. I just know because I hear it at every funeral. I'm a No Sabo kid, but I know it in Spanish too because it's read at every funeral. Because but people need to look up what it really means. It's the way to deal with death, but it's pretty much telling you it's not going to be easy. But it also says, my cup runneth over, which means like you should be blessed with what you have right now. Filbert's gone, and I'm here. Filbert will never be able to see his kids anymore, and I'll see them when I get home tonight. That's right. And my mom is gone. My biological mom is gone, but I'm here. And the person she raised is who you're looking at right now. and the person she raised will honor her any way she can, any way he can. And so, as dark as I got on this episode, because Jesus Christ, I kind of surprised you. Because I didn't want to tell you what I wanted to do. But as dark as I got here, I kind of want to just make sure that everybody knows that the sun will shine tomorrow. Whether you're ready for it or not, the sun's going to shine tomorrow. And just be grateful that you got to see it shine every day. Because whether you're 15, whether you're 43, whether you're 22, whether you're 95 years old, today could be your day. Today could be your day. And so, if you don't want things to haunt you, you're shit out of luck. Because that's, again, another joke that death has. Is that you think that you got the next chess move and then checkmate. Right? Or at least check. Make another move. Until it's checkmate, right? And you're gone. But yeah, dude, I don't think anybody is ever going to figure out death. And we're trying to figure out how to make our lives last longer, and we're putting so much thought into that the flowers are growing and you're not even smelling them because you're trying to make them last longer. And it's that Spanish, that Mexican term. I'm not going to try it in Spanish, but you should bring me flowers when I'm living instead of when I'm dead and at my grave. Right? And my dad has always said that. And it makes a lot of sense. And at least the only thing that I could feel a little bit okay about with Filbert and with my mom is that after every phone call, I said, love you. And I guess some people might think, with your mom, it's fine, right? But I guess some people might think, you tell you love you to your best friend, that's gay. It's not gay. It's not. Dude, do it. Do it. If you really love somebody, you got to let them know. You don't have to fucking be over crazy about it and just tell them every single fucking minute. But if you're going to get off a phone call and you're not going to see them for a while, just say, I love you. And I do. And I did. As I was going through that group chat, there's videos of him telling us he loved us. There's videos of us telling us we loved each other. After I hung up every phone call, I love you. I kind of needed this more than you needed this. But I really appreciate it. Like, this is so nice that I feel like maybe a lot of people think that we're just floating and like not really going anywhere, and you have control over what you do. And I think to a certain extent you do have free will, but I think you're destined to do things. And when you reached out to me the week before last about recording this, I think I was destined to reschedule you for this week because my I didn't have a complete story, and I was just gonna talk about my mom because that was messing with me. But in a sad, again, full circle, in a sad, like weird, funny way, is like this completed the goddamn story, and I needed this. I needed just somebody that doesn't really have an insight on my life to kind of hear me out. Right? And I appreciate that, dude.